Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedacca, and you're listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network, and our show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedacca. And as you know, I'm founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and every week we talk to guest experts who have wisdom to share with us about all facets of divorce, dating, relationships, co-parenting, and anything related to that universe, because we want to make the best decisions in the best possible way. And today I have a guest that I'm just very excited to introduce you to. She is a wonderful trained divorce mediator and therapist, as well as a life coach and former educator, and her name is Colleen O'Neil. She holds a master's degree in social work and a master's degree in education, and Colleen currently operates Mediation and Beyond in Connecticut. She works with families to mediate their divorce and continues to work with them after the divorce has been completed, which is so important. And she's passionate about changing the culture of divorce. So thank you so much, Colleen, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. One of my favorite topics in kind of a strange way.
Yes, and mine as well, as you know. So we're going to be talking to Colleen today about ways to avoid co-parenting conflict, not only right after the divorce, but in the months and years after divorce, because so often parents find themselves dealing with issues that come up and they get very frustrated with one another, and they don't know how to reach out for help, and they don't know how to find solutions. And the more that the tension remains, the worse it is for everyone in the family, and of course, especially for the children. So Colleen has been doing this work for many, many years and has a lot of experience, and we want to tap into her wealth of knowledge and see what we could share with us today. So Colleen, let me start by asking you about what are the most important conflicts after a divorce that you find?
In my experience, both personally and professionally, I think the most common one, I think everyone would agree, is effective communication. And there's no way around conflict whether you're married or not married. So whether you're divorced or not, there's conflict just in relationships. And that is the number one problem, is the way you effectively communicate and connect on that conflict. And so I'm a big fan of, conflict. It gives us an emotion around it. It could be mad, it could be hurt, sad, whatever it is. That feeling is really important. It just doesn't have really any space in problem solving. So you have to deal with what your emotion is around it, but that's not going to lead you to the solution. So very fact-driven, like here's our conflict, here's our problem. Leave your emotions to the side. You can deal with those later and with somebody else, or in whatever way works for you. But dealing with the conflict and coming to a solution, because there's always going to be problems, but it's really being able to connect around effective communication. And that can be verbal, that could be in writing. A lot of places use, online services to help them communicate, and people sometimes can be a little kinder because they know other people are watching what's being said. But I'm a big fan of people just being able to text and talk, and in a way that they can set boundaries, and also in a way that creates solutions. And so part of, I believe, a good divorce is setting all that up as well. So it's not just getting through your financials, your alimony, child support, parenting plan, but it's living out that parenting plan, living out the effective ways to communicate. I think is one of the pieces that is missing from a lot of divorces. And that's an area where before you walk out of my office, you have a plan about how you're effectively going to handle, whether you're going to use like a family wizard or, FAIR, or there's like so many online services that you can use, but you have to have a plan about that. So communication would be the main thing that I see that goes wrong, as well as parenting styles. And I've learned and seen that people would have had parenting issues anyways. If someone just doesn't wake up and decide they're going to have a different parenting style right after the divorce than they did when they were married. So either you're on the same page even when you're married, because when you're married, you're co-parenting, or you're not on the same page. And if you were staying married, you'd still have to figure out your parenting styles. So the more similar they are, the more effective it can be. And the more different they are, then you obviously have to be able to communicate in order to work together so that the kids can have that stability that's so necessary.
And you make a really good point. In many cases, some marriages just stay intact, but the conflict stays with them because their parenting styles are so different and they're not seeing eye to eye. So the divorce isn't changing that much of the relationship as co-parents after a divorce as it was as co-parents before the divorce.
Right. And really, I mean, you're a team while you're married, and you're still a team when you're divorced. And you need to look at that you're still a team around your players, and the players are obviously the children. And
Yes.
so you have a responsibility for that team to succeed. And the more you can effectively do that, obviously, Rosalind, of all people, that the more you can effectively do that, the longevity, the legacy you leave your children, which is so important because you're teaching them how to have relationships as well.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So can you speak a little to what the continued patterns of conflicting issues are after a divorce?
Well, I think I've seen this, I learned this phrase on the Dr. Phil show. And he calls people right fighters. And so getting stuck in being right instead of getting into the solution, I feel trips people up all the time. They just kind of dig their heels in, and this is the way it was always done. This was the way it was done in the marriage. I don't see why we still can't do it that way. Or my parenting style is better. I spend more time with the children. And so I think getting out of that mindset that you're right, and you very well may be for you and how you would do it, but that never leads to a solution. And so I think getting in that frame of mind where we are two people with this little tribe or this little team we have, and we've got to create solutions around it. So stepping away from that kind of narrow lens of I'm right, it needs to be done this way. I can't open up and see that it could be done differently. Doesn't mean it's the right way or wrong way. It just is different than what you would do. And I find people get stuck very much in that. And I'm not picking on women by any stretch, but I think because women are more with children, whether they're stay-at-home moms or part-time worker, part-time mom, or that kind of thing, that I think it can be a little hard for us as the mama bears we can be sometimes in a good way, but I think it's a little harder for us to let go and see that it could be done differently and that it's actually okay.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and it's true. We feel very self-righteous that our way is the only way or the best way.
Or it's always been done that way, right? And why aren't we continuing with that? Why do we have to change it? It's worked, but change doesn't mean that your way didn't work. It just means that we're bringing in something a little different. And to learn, we want our kids to learn how to negotiate and navigate life, and they're going to have to learn that it always isn't their way, even though their way may be a great way to do something. But it's super important that I think women step back a little and say, okay, we can look at doing this a little bit differently, and it'll be okay. So I think that's one of the things. And I also think another thing that I see with parents, it's kind of competition a little bit between for the kind of, I don't want to say loyalty of the children, but just to make sure that the love of the children still love me even though I'm not in the home, or I'm going to do it different than the other house does because it makes me feel better and the kids seem to be happier, instead of working together, realizing there's enough love from our children to go around to mom and dad, as well as so many other people, extended family and friends and teachers and coaches and all those things, that there's enough love for our children that we don't have to make them feel that people are competing for their happiness or their love. If you can come together as a team, the kids will have enough love and respect for both of you, and that's just super important.
Well, it certainly is. Speaking of the children, let's dive a little bit more into talking about the children, conflict, education, and all the issues that crop up, because that's the crux of the co-parenting dynamic when parents are divorcing.
Well, as a former teacher, so I taught for many years middle school, I taught 8th grade, and 8th grade has its problems in and of itself, but it's a very fascinating time of life for kids, and hormones and socialness and their academics and sports, and they're just flooded with stuff. And so children's jobs are to go to school, work hard at their grades and do the best that they can, learn to socialize, learn responsibility and respect in an environment. They spend a lot of time at schools, and then to come home and also have similar responsibilities and to bring all that stuff home. But what I've noticed is that children, when there's conflict in a home, their job becomes much more challenging to do. They can't focus as well. They're a little off. They can become introverted or aggressive. Connections with their friends and relationships can be challenged. And as an adult, when we're going through the divorce, we all know, I mean, I'm divorced. I know how that was. Like your mind's over here about your divorce, and then you're trying to keep your mind on your work. And then you had a mind for the kids. And so you're kind of a little scattered in how that divorce is going. If it's not going very well, if it's very conflictual, it makes the rest of our lives more challenging, our work, our parenting, all of it. And so the same holds true for children. And so, but we don't recognize that. So if parents can really come to a place where, you know, they always say, I would do anything for my children. And I'm like, well, then stop fighting. Mm-hmm. Reduce the conflict. If you do anything for your children, the one thing they would want you to do, I am sure, is not bringing conflict into their world, because they have enough going on. And so that's super important. I think that we send that message to parents that it's a choice whether you bring conflict into a child's life. You don't have to. So even if you have one partner that is more challenging to deal with, your responsibility is how you can only own how you respond to that person instead of being reactive or impulsive about it. You have a choice of how you respond, right? So just like if a child's in a sandbox and a kid throws some sand at him, we're teaching our children, well, a choice would be you could punch the child, slap it, hit it, whatever, or you can act nicely and say, I didn't like that you did that, or I'm going to get up and go if you do it again. You know, there's a lot of ways to handle conflict. And I think as adults, we're certainly the most powerful people in a child's life are the mom and dad, because there's only one of each. Yeah. And so the message that we're sending is, I don't think parents understand the power of the messages they send. I don't think parents do things like have conflict, fight with the other parent in front of a child on purpose to hurt their children. Right. I sometimes think they're just unaware. They're unaware of their own impact. And I think it's so important for parents to take some ownership around their power in the home.
Colleen, I'm going to stop you right here for just a moment. We're going to take a quick break. You've been listening to Rosalind Sedacca on Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. We've been talking to Colleen O'Neil long after divorce, and you've been making so many important points about preventing continuing conflict. So can you share some more of your thoughts about that? Because it's so important for all of us to grasp.
About continuing conflict?
Yeah, well, with children, and then about continuing conflict overall, both.
Yeah, you know, I think the best thing you can teach a child is obviously, and I think we do it without even thinking what it is, but we teach children about self-control and to manage their emotions. And
Mm-hmm.
we start doing that when they're, when they're starting to walk and they're toddlers and they start socializing with other children. We're teaching them self-control, or even when they're eating their food, no, we don't throw it. You can control not throwing your food. We could all throw our food, but we don't. It's self-control. And for parents, when you're in the midst of divorce, which brings with it such a range of powerful emotions, and it's so stressful. Even the best of divorces are stressful. But if you don't have one of the best of divorces, the self-control that you can still learn, maybe you didn't have it in the marriage, but you certainly can still have it in the family moving forward on each end. So the parents are kind of bookends to these children in between. And if each parent can have some self-control about being responsible to manage their own emotions and their own feelings, those bookends become a really rock solid, instead of it getting so big that the bookends tip over because there's so much conflict in there, not only with the kids, and then you add the conflict in, but it's about self-regulation, self-control. And as a teacher, I mean, you teach children you have to teach children how to manage that in the school settings. But I think we need to help parents, because as I said, I think most parents don't want to hurt their children. It's the last thing they really want to do. Just don't think they know what else to do. Especially, I'm big on the parental genealogy. So like what you came from, how you were taught in your own lives as adults, how we were taught from our parents on how to handle conflict. We may still we're like, I never want to be like my mom or dad, but we are, right? But we don't even recognize that. And so I think it's really good to work with people like yourself or like myself, like parenting coaches and divorce coaching, and helping people see what they don't see for themselves, so they can bring some peace and harmony into their homes, their changing dynamic of family.
Oh, I totally agree. And of course, you need a certain level of awareness to even be conscious of the fact that this is something that can be changed and shifted and should be shifted. So
yes, and sometimes when you don't have your own awareness, Rosalind, if someone points something out, don't be so quick to shut it down. Like maybe you do need to take a quick look at yourself. Maybe what your partner, your ex, is saying, maybe they're not saying it to be mean, but they're saying it because, listen, you could improve upon this. Why don't you get some tools and some help, and it will help our relationship and it will help the kids. And so I don't think because it comes from our ex, we have to be so quick to shut it down. I think you have to take a look at it. And if it resonates where they may have a point, then do something about it. If it doesn't resonate that they have a point, then obviously don't look at it, but do pause, because we've been with you've been with your partner for a while. They might know a thing or two about you. They may not always be wrong.
That's a hard thing to accept sometimes, but it makes a huge difference in the future going forward. And as you well know, too many people divorce and marry again and again, and they're just marrying someone with a different face, but they get into the same dynamic and the same outcome, and there's no wisdom gained through the process at all.
Well, that's why the blended families, second marriages have even a higher divorce rate. Yes. Because people haven't done the work to learn about themselves and understand their contribution to the first time around, and to realize what might have happened and how they can improve themselves.
So important. So what if a family has longevity around conflict? What can they do? Because this is something that they've seen in their own parents and they've been living with their whole life. How do they break that pattern?
I think that's, the $1 million question, but I think it also has an answer. And I don't think people are aware that you're either one of two things. You're either repeating patterns from your history with how your parents parented you, and then you keep doing it. My dad gave me a SWAT, so I give my kids a SWAT. Okay, well, at least know where that came from, right? Or you're going to do things exactly different than how your parent did them because you didn't like it, but sometimes you've gone too far. So maybe your parents they had lots of boundaries and were really rigid. And then you swung the other way where boundaries don't work. I'm not doing boundaries, right? And then, so when you marry, you're each marrying the parenting style from which you came, right? So one person might want the rigidity, and the dad might want rigidity, and mom might want no boundaries. And so they do this. And you're going to do that in the marriage, you're going to do it in the divorce. And so the best thing to do is look at your parenting history, your parenting genealogy, and take a look at that and see, okay, this is how you are, this is how I am. We're going to mess these kids up if we don't come to a happy medium somewhere. So I can respect you, dad, and I can respect you, mom, about how parenting, how you parent, and create a new parenting diagram for these children, a new dynamic in the family that everyone can function in a healthy way.
Yeah, I think that's very, very wise and something that needs to happen. And before we go any further, I want to give you an opportunity to tell us how we can find you and your services.
Sure. So I'm based in Westport, Connecticut. The name of my business is Mediation. Don't type in meditation. It's
Yes.
mediationandbeyond.com. And you can also find me at Colleen O'Neil, ONEIL.com. So mediationandbeyond.com would be a great place. You can find me on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, Mediation and Beyond, where I host a weekly show. So you can find me there as well.
You froze.
There we go. Rosalind, we're back.
Yes, we're back. So let me, in the time that we have left, ask you, I tell clients to think about what the children are going to say to them when the children are grown adults, because it's easy to get away with a lot of behavior. It's easy to manipulate the children, coerce them, shame them, guilt them, and do all kinds of things in the name of and justifying good parenting and to protect them and for the best interest of the kids. And we know that so much of that happens that's destructive. What do you tell your clients when they're moving ahead into the future of co-parenting? What's the advice you leave them with?
I think the children didn't ask to be here. So they didn't ask for the divorce. They just asked for, like they would want. Most children would just like family. As long as it's a happy family and they have parents involved in their way, in their lives, so that children can just be children. Children get one childhood, and it's our responsibility, it's their responsibility to make sure that that childhood is a healthy, happy, safe childhood. And so parents have the ultimate responsibility to make sure that happens. And that's where I say the parents' emotions about themselves is irrelevant. Deal with that on the side, come together and create solutions so that these children, it's a seamless transition from living under one roof to living under two roofs. And it is possible. Everyone can do this. It is not impossible.
Yes, well, and that's a wonderful message to leave us with, because it's so important to realize that there is hope. It is possible to shift and change, make decisions differently. And I also like to remind clients that it takes a very big person to own up and apologize. Sometimes we said or did something that we later regret that wasn't the wisest co-parenting strategy to use or the smartest thing to say. And if we apologize to our children and just say, gee, I wish I hadn't said that, that wasn't a good thing, they learn a lot from us, and it also gives them permission to realize that we all make mistakes, and being able to forgive and move on is a very important thing, and to ask for forgiveness. So I want to thank you, Colleen O'Neil. You've been a wonderful guest.
Thank you.
Your message is so important and so valuable. And I hope we can talk again about all of this, because it's such an important topic.
Thank you, Rosalind, for having me. It's important work, and thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. So you've been listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedacca on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And you can find more information about the Child-Centered Divorce Network at childcentereddivorce.com. Until next time, have a wonderful life. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.